team, just keep, or for all the speakers, please keep your videos on so that you are visible here and on the YouTube. Other people will not be visible over there, right? So I have just started streaming it on YouTube. It's live there now. You can start.
All right. Thanks, Nehal. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Apurva Joshi, and I welcome you all to this special session on coping with the stress of the pandemic. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Dr. Jyothirmayi and Arjun Pratap. Dr. Jyothirmayi is a psychiatrist and she's an expert counselor. And Arjun Pratap is the founder of a very celebrated startup, Edge, and he manages a team of young professionals. So, welcome, both of you, and thank you for finding precious time to join us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So, India is currently facing probably the worst pandemic crisis in the world. And as we all know, every citizen has been deeply impacted and no one has been spared. So, as days goes by, we are experiencing more and more fatigue. So, coming straight to the point, Arjun, I would like to learn from you as to how the pandemic has impacted the industry and the employees. And what is your experience been like?
Yeah, so my experience has been around typically my startup and my team and my colleagues and peers. And it's quite heartfelt, primarily because the kind of empathy we require to make sure things are sorted have to be with the velocity, have to be with a deepness of understanding. And I'm pretty certain that based on what's going on around, people don't lose that deepness of understanding, right? Because we really have started caring for each other primarily with this situation that we have in a deeper sense and in a more effective sense. So when I look at my company, and we did a dipstick on the number of people who had COVID, on who have COVID and who are sort of struggling to get tests done, some to get oximeters done, some to go and get CT scans or different medication. It is important to connect the dots for them, so you have channels open, and that's just the context of our company. And what I see is also the empathy moving in from, for instance, from our investors who come back and say, we have a couple of companies in our portfolio who you're not aware of, who also will help on oxygen or will also help on getting you beds. So why don't you reach out this way? So these are, not about, and differentially an investor call would be more about, are you meeting your numbers or are you sort of clocking the quarter's revenue? But I think it's very, heartening to see them pitch in and deliver the message of connecting us to real, sort of help and empathizing with our situation. So I think it is important to recognize what's happening in the industry. Companies are stepping up and saying, listen, we'll take care of your vaccines, we'll take care of your testing requirements, work from home, don't come to the office because we're on a lockdown as well. But I think these are interesting times where the people element of the companies are starting to become a lot more real.
Absolutely. Thank you for shedding light on that. And so how was the year 2020, and what is the difference that you're seeing in the previous year and in this current year? What are some of the challenges that you are seeing?
That's a good question, because the year 2020 and 21, in terms of the lockdown phase, funnily enough, is around the same sort of time period. But what we faced in 2020 was, this whole view of annihilation and everything falling down, and sort of we were panicking because a lot of things were breaking and a lot of businesses around us were crumbling, and there was a lot of job insecurity and financial insecurity that was of big concern. So we went through different measures then, right? Like, for instance, terminating our lease, cutting back on our hiring, and thinking about revisiting the structure of pay scales. How would we manage cash flows? How would we live another day? I think the sense was literally April, May, June last year was 30, 60, 90 days for us in planning how to live, right? This year, if I had to reflect upon it, and we went past COVID in a manner where we were, as a country, a lot more clear about managing it, and then we sort of lost the plot for various reasons. And I think the losing of the plot and coming back to the same state is fatiguing, right? It's just like, what the hell is going on? And not just that, it's just that the loss of life and the kind of things that are going on now. I think we're a lot better placed to deal with it because we have seen it in the past. But what we're dealing with is at a different scale, right? And that, I think, is the element of challenge that we have, because near and dear ones, every household, every family is dealing with it. So it's just across the board. That's different.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, so every person has been impacted by this severely, and a lot of people have lost their near and dear ones. So, Dr. Jyoti, what are some of the major challenges that you are seeing in your clinical experience, or diseases that people are suffering through because of this current pandemic crisis?
Yes, Dr. Apurva. See, the world is currently facing a major crisis situation. But at the same time, when we see on the opposite spectrum, we see people who are trying to help in their own way. Whatever way it's possible, people are trying to provide food for people in quarantine, attending calls, trying to arrange for oxygen cylinders. And we see at the hospitals, the nursing staff, the doctors, we see on a daily basis, the cleaning, the housekeeping staff. So they are actually putting their 100% effort to see, they are not backed off, they are facing the situation, they are putting themselves at risk. So this is something which is a feel-good factor for us to daily witness. People are actually rising to this occasion. They are trying to help each other, which is a very good thing. On and off in our daily clinics, we have definitely seen a rise in anxiety symptoms. Anxiety per se, let us say out of 10 people, 4 people are definitely, they are coming up with anxiety symptoms related to COVID or post-COVID. See, worldwide, almost like 1 in 5 people who are having or who have infected with COVID, they are developing some mental health problems. So, and almost the mental health concerns also, if not, let us not call it disorders, but these concerns are increasing almost like twofold they have increased of late, especially in the second wave. There are too many calls with too many concerns. And our body, we human beings, we are made up in such a way that we have some center, a fear stimulation center called amygdala in our brain. So whenever there is a fear-causing stimuli, that amygdala is stimulated and our body gets ready for a fight or flight response. But the current pandemic, what is happening is constantly this is in a stimulation mode. Constantly the alarm bells are ringing in the body because there is constant overflow of news, overflow of negative information. So the body feels that constantly it is under a threat situation. So this particular thing has led to a lot of emotional overflow, and people are getting overwhelmed because of this. And it is seen in some physical symptoms of anxiety, which are seen as palpitations, that is heart beating fast, getting breathless, dry mouth. We can have trembling of hands, or sweating, or coldness of hands, or urge to go past motion. So these are all some of the physical symptoms of anxiety that people can experience. And definitely anticipatory anxiety is also getting more, wherein people are in a hurry, they are anticipating and they are catastrophizing the event, thinking that they might get COVID or their family might get COVID, and they are only thinking about the worst possible outcome, that is death, and they are experiencing these panic symptoms. And because of this anticipatory anxiety and excess anxiety, some individuals are going for unnecessary tests, excess tests, and hoarding behavior also, hoarding of medications. hoarding of all the possible items that they might be requiring if in use. So that is the reason why there is shortage of some supplies in the market. And then depressive symptoms of not sleeping well, not eating properly, feeling very low, and post COVID, and people who have seen their family members hospitalized and in severe situations, we are seeing post traumatic stress also. In post traumatic stress, these individuals have a lot of panic symptoms, flashes of memories of being hospitalized in the ICU. They have nightmares, so they are reliving the past again and again. And second thing is, other than anxiety and post-traumatic stress, we are seeing these guilt feelings a lot in human beings. See, guilt feelings of people who come and tell us they were not able to save their loved one. They try to get them to the hospital, so they feel that they couldn't take them the right time, or they couldn't get the resources and the right time, or in some way, like people who are like long distance, let us say people who are abroad and their parents are living here, they are suffering with a lot of guilt that at this crisis time they are not able to take proper care of their parents. There have been few people who have experienced a lot of depression and a lot of this guilt. Yeah, so definitely a lot of mental health issues have cropped up. And but identification is very important. Identification in ourselves, and maybe in our near and dear ones in our office. Let us say the employees, we need to identify if someone was performing very well earlier and now sudden performance has come down. So maybe like Arjuna said, this empathy is very much required these days. So we need to put aside everything, whatever was there earlier, and strive to hold hands and go together.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, ma'am. So, in fact, I'm glad you raised the point that we are seeing both ends of the spectrum. Like we have one strata of people who are going out of their way to help out, as much as they can and doing their bit, even in service of strangers. And on the other hand, we are seeing survivor's guilt. So these are two very extreme spectrums, and it's a very unfortunate time that we're able to we're going through this at the moment. Arjun, from you, I would like to learn that what were like ma'am mentioned, like what were some of the mechanisms that earlier the employees would be able to do and unburden themselves. But now it doesn't seem to work for them. So she pointed out that some of the higher performing employees might show a drop down in their performance levels. So what are some of those differences that you've seen?
Sure. I mean, it's a good question. In terms of performance and measures of outcomes, I think the idea is to just keep things going, make sure that you continue to interact with a certain level of normalcy, to ensure that other people also don't feel this overwhelming sense of abnormality, right? Where everything is going to shit. You don't want that to happen as well, right? So people get really scared when there's this lack of control or a sense of direction. And what we believe, and this is really from an edge standpoint, and I think it's important for other people to understand this, is to try and maintain that sense of control and direction for the people that you're economically taking care of, right? You have employees in the company who you need to understand their compulsions of working as well, and certainly not take advantage of it, but be there from an empathetic standpoint to manage them through the process. So part of the thing that we did last time was actually engaging them through gamification, because all of us were in this digital medium where we were connecting as a way of life. And then that way of life became very, very effective because we could conduct meetings faster, perform better, and all the good things above. But what we're not realizing is we're relegated to so much screen time, which causes fatigue at the back end, right? So how do you manage that fatigue through, mental days off? So I've read a recent article that one of our, product marketing team and one of my colleagues also brought up from the HR side, saying we should be evaluating this. And we just, between yesterday and today, we went through a whole thread of what all can we do. Yoga classes, meditation. Can we get things in play that allow people to take some time off and get avenues? Obviously, last year we one-to-one help, and we got a sense of an employee assistance program right instituted bang in the center of it in May itself. I went through it. In fact, I sent it to one of our investors as well, so they could institute it for the portfolio companies, primarily because you have to take action, an action that will result in people having avenue to vent, speak out, relate to, and take care of their situations, because situations, however different they might be, are finite, right? You have a family situation, you have parents, you have children, you have your spouse to deal with, you're alone, and these are sort of finite situations. Economic conditions, right? I have a job, I don't have a job, I'm transitioning, and I want to now I'm forced to stay in this company, but I wanted to transition. All these things start playing a part in your whole mental psyche. But the thing that brings it together is keep a sense of balance, keep a sense of security, which means that some people within the organization who have the responsibility and accountability to lead their functions and teams have to step up to the plate, right? And they are also going through their own trial and tribulation, because they're as normal as the next person, right? It's just that they have a leadership role and they have a team to deal with, doesn't make them superhuman. So this balance is very important. And this balance can only come if it's a two-way street. The teams have to see you as real and you as the team real. That authenticity has to come through. And honestly, like I was saying in the beginning of it, this situation makes us empathetic. The situation also makes us very sincere. And suddenly people, with all your preconditions and notions about profit and running and moving, take a little bit of a backseat and start looking at, okay, can I take care of the person, next door? Can I take care of the person who's not next door? Can I get that? One of my colleagues got one of my other colleagues an oximeter. While I had this conversation, relayed it, and immediately that action was taken. It just was heartening to see that people are willing to do this in lightning speed and sort it out. And we have to be there for the person, in need. It's not just about our situation and being happy. Like, I think that's changed. In India, finally is starting to understand that culturally we're a very empathetic society in many ways, right? We through trial and tribulation based on our development status, but now more so because of the situation of from a health standpoint, we are starting to see what the needs of people are across the board. So yes, institute policies, institute real activities and events that take us through this digital medium of connection into a realm where the digital medium is giving us outlets, like having the ability to speak to a doctor. See, the other thing that I also think, from a depression standpoint, there are certain sets of parameters or signals that you have to look for. Google them up, look for it, assess yourself, speak to a doctor. One of the things that I also believe in is, you'd spend 1,000, 2,000 rupees for a consultation at some level, because it's a doctor who's going to mend something that's physical. But when it's psychological and it's mental, you start thinking, should I, shouldn't I? And you that take it out of the equation, because you do need that kind of support and clinical help. And it is clinical help. So if you can take that message when it is important for you to communicate it and help people understand. I do it. I check myself for depression characteristics, fatigue, mental anxiety, disorders, anger, outbursts, and all of that, because I want to be, realistic about the situation. And I don't want to be in this fallacy. And honestly, the authenticity to yourself has to come into play. That's what you can rely on when you're sitting alone, right? You have people around you who depend on you. So certainly invest in having that session with a therapist, right? It is a gateway, right? It's not a magic wand, but it's a gateway to get yourself sorted. Like a doctor can treat the symptoms, might not be able to treat the cause immediately, but certainly start treating the symptoms.
Very, very well put point, Arjun. So, as you shared that, digital served as a medium for people to get an outlet. That was one, and how the company was able to provide for counseling, psychological counseling for its employees in the previous year as well. So, Dr. Jyoti, from you, I would like to learn that what are your key recommendations that employees and firms and organizations can do in such extreme crises? Like, what are your particular recommendations? Yeah.
See, the thing is, I think till yesterday, see, we have something called as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So till yesterday, everyone was aiming at the higher level of needs. So this pyramid is in such a way that the higher level there is creativity, self-esteem, self-actualization, all these needs. You're like trying to prove yourself, trying to be more productive, getting in new ideas, innovation, and all that. See, what has happened, what usually happens is when the basic needs are fulfilled, then only a human being is allowed or human being can think about the higher needs. In the current scenario, what is happening is because of the unfulfillment or because of some distortion in the basic needs like oxygen, sleep, food, or basic your health. See, because of all this, the person is their productivity or their creativity or innovation is little bit, people who are affected, it will definitely a little bit come down. So here we need to give that person some space, some time for people who are affected. And for that, I think as a founder, the founder's responsibility would be more here. And even the stress levels would be more for the founder because he has to take care of the employees' needs, his own family needs, the employees' families' needs. It's a very big responsibility. At the same time, for the employees, it's about job security. They are worried about whether I'll be in the job, I'll lose their financial needs, and at the same time, the health of their family members and all. So here, I think we all, as human beings, I think everyone also understood what is the current scenario, how they can put forth and all that. And people are quite open to talk about mental health issues, these days. And I have seen many big firms also giving that opportunity, maybe sitting a one-on-one talk with the employee, whoever is affected, who are going, and they're extending. Like there are some companies who have come up with, paying full salaries for employees who got affected with this. Or the good gestures are coming up, and that is giving boost for them, some confidence ki there are, people who are taking care of us and our families. And that would actually improve their productivity at a later date. When you get help from the company, I think that gratitude is something that people do remember. They have this. So, and same time, parallelly, they work much better. So I think that is what is happening. When the basic needs are fulfilled, then only we can think about the higher needs. And usually human beings have what we call as defense mechanisms. So each and every one of us, to reduce our anxieties, we resort to some defense mechanism. It can be immature, it can be mature. So the most common immature defense mechanism that we resort to is displacement, displacing our emotions. There is some problem. Let us say you've tested COVID positive and you're critically ill, there is no bed available. Start displacing that anger and you start blaming, some person who's responsible. Maybe you start blaming the hospital, you start blaming the government, you start blaming yourself. So this displacement creates a lot of negativity around. So this is one way that they went out to reduce their anxiety. So even in companies and firms also, it can happen. Like there is a deadline that you're supposed to submit this project or submit this work on so and so date. And parallelly, you're having some personal issues or some health issues here. So maybe you start displacing your anger or irritation on your higher authorities or on the people who are working under you. So whenever a person suddenly, starts showing irritation, starts showing some displaced anger, maybe we have to just, instead of arguing or instead of getting into some kind of a, maybe we can for a second, we can think about what exactly is the problem. Why is he suddenly, behaving like this? So let us sit and discuss about what is the issue, how we can resolve this. So that is one thing. Second thing is some people go into denial mode, especially in this COVID. They try to, put aside everything, saying, hey, everything is normal. There's nothing much serious. Nothing is going to happen and all that. So the amount of the preventive measures and all what they take will be less. So let us not go into denial mode. Let us accept that this is the situation. And all of us at some or the other point of time are going to face this, not exactly face COVID, but at least the scenario and the family or the friends are getting affected. Every day all of us do keep getting calls, right? That someone is affected, someone needs this and that. And then there is another set called as mature defense mechanism, which is one of the mature defense mechanism is altruism, which I think now everyone is stood up to, everyone is doing. Altruism is trying to help other people. So in the employees, in the company setup also, I think if one particular individual is not able to perform the work properly, maybe the other people who are a little bit not affected by this COVID and all can take up that extra work or try to help each other in some way. And the founders and the higher authorities, they can just sit up with the employees and on a weekly call basis try to encourage them, try to address their issues. I think communication is the key here, because maybe we'll have the intent to help them, but it has to be communicated also properly so that they understand that these are the resources, helpful resources available to us.
Right, ma'am. Thank you. From both of you, I could gather that paying attention to the individual's changed behavior, and then listening and empathy certainly helps, and then taking action according to that. So thank you for sharing those key pointers on the defense mechanisms that you've just listed. So another point that I want to dig deeper into is, a lot of us have hesitation when it comes to accessing mental health. So despite the awareness campaign, despite everybody, coming up and sharing, on social media especially, and Bollywood celebrities speaking out in favor of it, we still see a lot of people probably going into denial and saying that they probably don't need it, or hesitating because of some other reasons. So Arjun and Dr. Jyoti, from both of you, I would like to hear what are some of the challenges that you see on day-to-day basis that individuals hesitate in going out and asking for help.
Yeah, so my view, and Dr. Jyoti, I'll just take my first stab at it, is that from statistically, I think there have been a lot more people who are approaching. In fact, it was 2% of the workforce before, which went up to about 8% of people approaching the helpline, which is great, right? It's obviously quadrupled. But having said that, I think the idea is that people out there are reaching out not just to for help in a professional manner. They're reaching out to each other to have these conversations. So that's also a very important point of intervention. Reaching out to a therapist, like I said, the understanding of it being clinical in nature, and as good as going and getting your knee checked, or your going to an ENT specialist. It has to be par for the course, and people have to understand that this is good for you, because it is important to assess it clinically in terms of your well-being, because your mental and physical well-being are typically equal in quotient, and very important to balance out. And people don't recognize that, unfortunately, in the course of their thinking. That has shifted dramatically based on what COVID has presented us as one of the positives in people approaching their mental health much more deeply, and are seeking help and reaching out to other people, if not for professional help. I think the professional help avenue is also, just by statistics of reference points of the number of therapists that are doing sessions, I think it must have gone up dramatically. Right, and Dr. Jyoti could probably highlight some of the proactive nature of people seeking help has changed. I think that's the aspect that we see and will continue to persist, where people are looking out for this medium of connection and intervention and change of course. But I'm seeing that as real. It's not something that's a fallacy that we're just creating based on statistics that we want to create. It is the reality of the situation, where people have realized that they have to sort themselves out, because it's just mind numbing not to. So yeah, and I urge people to just reach out. It's just normal. It is important, and it is necessary to do it now versus doing it 2 days later.
Yeah. That's true, Arjun. Actually, as we know, in India, this mental health stigma is a lot than abroad. But now, slowly it is the shift. We are shifting towards lessening the stigma. Even the word mental, the mental health. I had this one talk, I think, a few months back, and they didn't want this word mental in there. It was about mental health, but somehow they were stigmatized even with this word mental. They wanted to remove and maybe put something like called well-being and all. So I think that it is there still in the society. But yeah, current after this COVID pandemic, the shift we have seen is that there are mental health professionals can be categorized as psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors. Psychiatrists are medical doctors, so they will be also able to prescribe medications for the disorders and also do therapy. Psychologists and counselor will be more to do with the talk therapy, the psychotherapy sessions, and counseling individuals. So sometimes we are asked to hide our identity of being a psychiatrist and talk to them as a general doctor or a general counselor. That is how it is. And these days, because of the in-person consultations have reduced, and because of the technology and all being available, so many people are being more comfortable with the video because of the WhatsApp and WhatsApp video calls and all, I think. So we are getting even we're doing therapy sessions and consultations in remote towns and villages, being in cities. I think that has definitely improved a lot. From abroad also, the kids who are abroad, and their parents who are facing any mental health issues here, we are having conference calls so that, we can try to lessen their anxieties as kids there who are not able to do anything. And who want to do anything, they are arranging resources, they are talking to their parents, but physical presence during these times, unfortunately, they're not able to. So we are arranging conference calls also between them. And I think that is again another thing that people from remote areas also can get in touch with each other. And we're trying to have like a family therapies and all together with the use of technology. That has improved a lot. And identification is the most important, because see, though people suffer with this, like they suffer with sleep disturbances, they have panic attacks, sometimes the person is not aware it is a mental health issue, there is some treatment for it, it's a disorder. That very thing also they are not aware of it. So I think this awareness is very important in the other fields as well. So I think these days, just like Dr. Apurva has said, the celebrities are coming up and talking about their mental health issues, which is a good thing. At least the stigma is coming down. So the very sensitive indicator, what I can tell to every individual is, if you're sleeping well in the nights, if you have a very good sleep and your appetite is good, more or less your mental health issues, you don't have, major mental health issues. Sleep is a very sensitive indicator. Sleep deprivation can start a vicious circle of get a low mood, irritation, and again this low mood irritation can cause sleep disturbances. So sometimes it's very difficult to diagnose whether it is these days, because of the cell phones and mobile phone usage also, the sleep is reduced. So we are also responsible for the sleep deprivation because of overworking and all that. So let us give utmost important to sleep. So nights are supposed to be sleeping. It's not like daytime sleep. I have seen individuals, okay, yeah, I can sleep for 6 to 7 hours. That is somewhere early morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, they'll be browsing on the mobile and they will be sleeping. See, our human beings' state is also such a way that there are some neurochemicals, some hormones which are released in the night time, which are good to reduce our anxiety levels also, to reduce our stress levels. So night time, let us allot majorly to have a proper sleep, reduce this mobile phone usage in the night time. I think that is one thing that I want to emphasize. And second thing is the overflow of news these days. Constantly our mobile is something actually which is also causing a lot of anxiety for us, because we get a lot of updates, a lot of WhatsApp messages, a lot of forwards we see when we open, we see that this is the news, a virulent strain is there, it is killing so many people, and then they show crematoriums, the visuals, and the the scoreboard of all the states, how many cases, per day. So this is increasing anxiety a lot. So when people are 24/7 with the mobile, they keep on checking this again and again. So it is important for us. It's not that we should not know the information, but let us allot some time, maybe morning 10 minutes or in the evening 10 minutes to just understand what are the updates, outside what is happening. And the rest of the time, let us allot to some productivity, like let us focus on our work, on our immediate family members. If we are not able to do anything major, let us not talk about other issues like this person has done this, blaming people and all that. So let us do some productive activity. By if each person focuses on their immediate family, immediate friends, I think everyone can make a big change here. So smaller steps can do a lot of change. So identification, awareness of mental health issues, talking about them, help is available. There are a lot of helplines. I think even government has put in, helplines. A lot of counseling centers have helplines. Even we are also thinking to start a helpline for people who might be feeling very depressed. And especially we have seen, I think we have read news about people who came to know that they are COVID positive and they have committed suicide as well. And there are one or two medical doctors who couldn't bear the stress of catering to the patient's needs, and they have also committed suicide. So this helplessness is being set in the society. They feel that, as if it is an impending doom, it is the end of the world. Some people do feel like that, but it is not true. So let us at least try to see if such people are there around us. If we can, catch hold of their hand, if we can give a small encouraging word, at least, maybe 5 minutes a day you can spend with pinging people whom you know, your close and near ones, and asking them how they are, whether they need any help and all. I think that would create a lot of impact.
Yes, very, very well pointed. I think that again brings out, just connecting the dot here, that again will bring out the altruism defense mechanism activated inside us when we reach out to the person who we think really needs our support at the given moment. That also benefits us at the end of the day. And I am also guilty of spending too much screen time. And
We are all, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so can we take up some questions from the audience? Is it? I'll just open some of the questions.
Yeah, happy to take.
Yeah. So first question is for the both of you. So we would like to learn that dear founder friend had, 3 of his employees left their jobs and went on long breaks, 6-month break, 12-month break, to overcome the tragic loss in their families. And all these 3 employees were great workers. So as the founder, he's confused whether, he should reach out to them and, hire them back, or should he, leave them, or what is your take on this particular situation? So quite a difficult situation, and especially from a founder's perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they have gone on a sabbatical, or they've taken a break and they've gone out and they're trying to sort of find themselves and get past that point, definitely reaching out to them to say you're there and whether they're in the organization or not is important, right? I think that's the right thing to do. Whether they have the opportunity to come back because you have a need for them, you can say it the way it is and leave that thought with them. But I think what you should also do as a founder is you owe it to yourself and your business and potentially your investors to get on with it, right? So you need to figure out how you can get people who can replace their skills and competence or their roles within your organization to get on with it. So I think that a combination of these things have to be done, right? Reaching out to them and being empathetic and sort of understanding that they need a break, and because they've identified that they need a break, right or wrong, is something that you need to support. If they're going to come back, give them the option based on your need and sort of get on with it to figure out whether you can move with different people coming in and supplementing in terms of their roles. What if they come back and they say, listen, you opened out that opportunity? At some level, they also have to understand it's not open-ended. You need to get on with it, because you owe this to yourself, and you need to owe it obviously to the company that you're building and the dream that you have. So taking these actions is very important, and going forward is very important.
Right. Thanks for sharing that. Dr. Jyoti, your take on this?
Yeah, I think what Arjun said is apt. First, reaching to them who have left the job. See, sometimes people in desperate situations leave their jobs, but they would be definitely in search of another new job. So I think if they were happy or content with the first job, they would be happy if the founder would have approached them. But in case they are still in a state that they can't join or get back, and they are still very busy with their thing, I think he has to look out for other employees, and he should not stop there. It is a challenging situation, but he has to keep going by employing maybe new people and going forward. And it should not be seen as a fail, as some a dip in this, or I have failed and all that. It is a slow down. Let us take it as a slow down. Again, the momentum, you can catch up with the momentum.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add one thing. One of the things that I learned through the journey and through many mistakes and failures is that self-flagellation. As a founder, you got to own and account for what you have, with you, right? It's a context of time. You can't. The less time you spend beating yourself up about a situation, is the more time you spend solving and moving on, right? So I think the fact that you reached out and asked this question is a great thing, right? Hopefully you get some takeaways from this and act upon it. But the act of reaching out has to be, important. At the end of the day, you might be reaching out because you know them as a colleague, friend, and a performer, and they know that too. So there's nothing wrong with you reaching out and saying, listen, are you all right? And nothing wrong with you sort of telling them, listen, if you want to come back within the next month, it would be great for us. And probably getting your head cleared and then coming back would be great for us. And, I want to be able to take that opportunity to work with you again. Now, if you in that month find a really good person to take their place, you need to communicate that to them as well through that journey, saying, you know what, 2 weeks have happened and I've met a person who's really great, and I'm sorted right now and I'm going on. I just want to let you know, thank you for being there and sort of thinking of coming back still. But, I've got this sorted out. Now, constantly you have to make those tough choices, and one will be, wrong to somebody else, but right to many other people. And you got to think of that and just make that decision and live with it, right? So I think it's important for you to deal with the accountability and responsibility of making that decision and moving on.
Yeah, very, very rightly said. So, I mean, tough choices, but one has to, look ahead and make those decisions. So thank you for clearing that one up.
Cool.
Another question for Dr. Jyoti in particular is, can you suggest some practical tips, for all the stress and the anxiety that is stored within one's body? So we have a couple of questions on the same line. So how do we combat this stressful situation?
Yeah. See, broadly, we can classify these coping skills, or what we call to reduce our stress and anxiety levels, as physical coping skills, emotional coping skills, and social coping skills. So physical coping skills is the utmost that we'll have to first sit and understand whether we are taking care of our body properly or not. So many of us ignore our body needs. Our body has some needs, like it has to have proper food, proper fluid intake. We need to have, body needs all that to function properly for physical well-being and mental well-being. So first sit and analyze whether your body's needs are being fulfilled or not properly. So then only the body will be able to cope with the other kinds of stress. And the second is the social coping skills, like connecting to other people, trying to be in touch. Like physical connect these days is not that possible. So at least, connecting on phone, reaching out to our neighbors or, family members in particular. And the third thing is the emotional coping skills, Emotional coping skills are different for different individuals. For some people, doing a 15 or 20 minutes of physical exercise like yoga or something rejuvenates them. Yeah. It makes them feel good because it is like all the muscles in the body are involved. For some, deep breathing exercise like just a 5 minute of breathing in, breathing out, just focusing on the breathing, trying to lessen the, trying to increase the depth of the breath and concentrating on it for 5 minutes works a lot in reducing anxiety. For some individuals, it is their hobbies like cooking or arranging or cleaning up the home. Even these are some activities that reduce our stress and anxiety, household chores. So sometimes we tell people who are quite overwhelmed by overthinking and all, just get all the clothes off your almirah, refold them and keep it. That 20-minute activity at least gets the autonomic nervous system, which is in the raised thing, little bit down, because body requires that 20-minute time to cool down. So we need to distract ourselves by doing some other activity. And for some, it is the spiritual needs. Like some people, they get a lot of the anxiety comes down by praying. Whatever religion, whatever it is, praying, trying to believe in some higher self. Chanting some mantras. People do find solace in it. That is one way that anxiety can be reduced. So whatever works for anyone, I think people can get in all this, any coping skill that they can take up. The most commonly thing available is doing household works is what I can tell you. Household works, and people with women with kids and all, for them it's getting even more too difficult. Working women, especially with kids, with no schools, with no daycares outside. That is another challenge that definitely they're facing. If it is work from home, that is okay, they're trying to manage, but people have to step out and have no family support. This is another challenge. So I think we'll have to reach out, maybe companies have to even reach out to women who are working and trying to understand if, they want some cut down time or shift in the timings, like or timings when the kids are there, and some flexibility can be given to them. Yeah. I think any physical coping skills, social coping skills, or emotional coping skills, whatever works for any individual, they can pick up that and try to implement that and try to de-stress.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I hope this clears up the question. Next question is for you, Arjun. So what are some of the tips, that you would like to share with entrepreneurs, how they can best manage their resources, which are especially constrained at these times, like money management or employee retention. So what are some of your tips that the founders can take up?
So, one of the things that I realized, and this is based on the past journey and what happened to a lot of startups who were on the B2C side, and they had to deal with the changes. And we had calls that were conducted by our, investors for the portfolio companies and the founders. I remember Mukesh Bansal talking about how they did sessions literally every day with the workforce and the employees to keep them connected, right? And it was a trying time because all gyms were shut and everything was sort of topsy-turvy, and trying to figure out what next was difficult. And you had, salary restructuring and reorganization, rescheduling that was happening in various forms and manners. But I think in that time, what I learned was to be connected to your people is very important, because you are who you are because of the people that you have, and the sort of the dream is going to get fulfilled for them with you, right? So you need to be very clear about that being the connection point for them, right? Why would they want to go away at this point is very basic, simple things: financial security, job security, realization of self-worth in their jobs. These are important things that you need to re-emphasize through this journey. And you might not be able to find ways to provide more financial security. In fact, it might be less financial security. But sure as hell, what can you provide, how you can provide it, lay it out, plan, go early on the day with the message. And then if that plan has to be replanned again, go early on the day with that message as well, because people have to understand that you're trying your best to organize this whole thing for them as well as yourself, right? They can't see it disconnected, and they shouldn't see it disconnected, because I think you understand the level of it being a team effort, right? So founders have to make that effort, make that call, use the digital mediums to connect at this time, and work on ways to ensure that it is not all about money, right? It's not all about, and especially at this time, people are realizing it. I mean, people who wanted to shift to another job or wanted to move to another company or wanted to get more salary within your company will probably realize at this point what your situation is if you're authentic and straightforward about the situation. Don't try and profit from the situation if you are trying to profit from the situation. I'm not saying that that's the motivation for anybody at this point, but make sure that authenticity comes in, that sincerity comes in, that integrity is something that they see, because they joined you because of that. They joined you because you were passionate about doing something within this company and taking a risk with you. Do not forget that, right? That part has to be the reach out factor in this situation. So that's my 2 cents. I believe strongly in people. I built a company around solving for the people problem, solving the economics around employability, and making sure that people get the right jobs, and being at the core of empowering and enabling companies to look at their talent, and the transparency is going to give them all of the power that they need to perform. So it's very important to be authentic. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Dr. Jyothi, would you like to add onto it?
No, I think that was very well answered. So being genuine to everyone around, the company spirit should never be let down. What is the intent of the company? What is the basic, what we can say, the main thing that you're going ahead with? Each and every company has its own policy, its own what I can see. So that I think it should never be left behind. The purpose of the company, the founder has to make it very clear to the employees what is the main purpose of the company and how it can. So if the founder has more clarity, I think the employees will be also having more clarity. And I think that's.
Yeah, I'll give you another insight. Right, I sort of tend to begin my day by opening one eye at 6:15 in the morning, and then starting to check my email around 7 o'clock. And I'm a big believer in making sure that I get a balance of exercise, because that's my de-stress, and I figure out different ways to do it in this lockdown. But as I begin the day, there was, and I've been sort of trying to push the bar and work through the day, and I've been clocking really long hours, and which also affects your eating and all of the other things that are not balanced, which is not a good thing. But what I was looking at through the day, and this is for founders and looking at it, there were meetings scheduled like one after another, to the degree of it's spilling over, and you have to manage your time really, and it's something that you can't do anything about. You need to just be there. And then I had this meeting invite sent to me for 9 p.m. tonight, from 9 p.m. to 9:45 p.m. tonight. And I was looking at it and saying, why can't this be done on Monday? Right. And the fact that my colleague wanted to do that meeting at that time motivated me to say, okay, I'm going to do that meeting. Right? Because why is someone wanting to do that meeting? It's because they're so interested about doing that meeting. They want to meet on this really relevant topic. Right? It's important. So you need to also figure out through this and condition yourself for it, so that you're there for the long haul, because it's going to be a trying time. You need to take these avenues that Dr. Jyothi talked about, and not be taboo about this word mental. Make sure that you're all right to be able to perform and sense this direction setting for all the people out there. it's very important to realize that while everybody is having all these different things that are happening in their lives, that you maintain a sense of balance. And guys, we're all human. So if you falter and you fall, just pick yourselves up, but realize that it's okay. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I think that's great, because see, this motivation is also contagious, I feel. Even if one employee in the company is a little bit more motivated, I think he has the capacity to motivate the rest of them too.
Yeah, I just love the fact that my colleagues are motivated, and they it just makes me continue and sort of deliver it, and I wake up because they wake up, to be honest. Yeah.
That's a wonderful way to put that. So, in fact, we've come to the end of our time for today. And I would like to thank both of you for sharing your valuable insights. And it has been such an interesting discussion. And I hope the founders and the employees and everyone, all the viewers were able to, take back very key points and learned, how to better manage their stress during this pandemic. So thanks to both of you. So before we part, would you have any final, concluding remark from both of you?
So let Jyoti go first. Yeah.
From me, I just want to tell all of you that this too shall pass. It's not going to stay forever. We will survive this, and this will pass, and there are good times ahead. We are there here to help you whenever any one of you, need us.
Yeah. I couldn't have said that better. And I think we share the eternal optimism, which is great to see, Dr. Jyoti. I believe, as you said, this too shall pass, and there are better times ahead. It's just a realization that we have to go through that. We are, responsible for this destruction in some way. It's not the government or not the, the policymakers alone. I think we need to own and account for this chaos that has been created, and let's not deflect and displace our emotion. It's really up to us to start figuring it out. For all the people who can't figure it out, there are people who can, and let's start owning that part and getting this in order. And it shall pass, and we will see better times. And that's, I think, the writing on the wall. So, guys, hang in there. Make sure that you don't beat yourselves because you feel like you're alone. Just reach out to each other. It's very important to reach out to a friend, colleague, family, have a discussion. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to fight and also feel sad at times. But you got to move on. And it's not that Dr. Jyoti and I are not in pain or we haven't had our set of setbacks. It's just that it's very important to have a positive attitude and think of things with a rainbow ahead and a silver lining ahead. Yeah. So thank you, guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Dr. Apurva. And hopefully next year we will all be meeting in person instead of virtual.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, that's the dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Thank you.
So thank you, both of you, for taking out precious time today. And thank you to all the viewers who've, taken out time and asked their questions. And please feel free to reach out to us in case you have any other queries. So with that, we'll end today's session. So thank you all once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Arjun.